Hey, number 7. Have you not won anything this year? Have you not won anything this year?
He doesn't play for them. He's a ringer.
I know, bro.
Innit? You're a ringer.
You gotta be quality, though.
You're a ringer today. Come on.
But I usually bring in good players.
Please.
I don't play for these lot again, man. Not worth it, man.
Hey, bro.
Innit? And that's why I respect you. Because you're honest about it. Yes? I respect that.
We're going to talk about ringers. That term's been going around for donkey's years. Now, this is not shots fired at any teams in particular. I don't want no DMs coming my way. And again, if I say something, I say it. If Apple says something, Apple says it. These are two separate people. I'm just putting it out there. Rootz TV, Apple Westcott. Okay? Cool. So, ringers.
Yes.
It's come to our attention. It's still going on to this day. People are still trying to find ways around it, whether they're using double barrel names, whether they're using their cousin's name. Like, how do these people think they're going to still get around it? Especially, it's even worse now because games are getting filmed. So then people are uploading this, like, see number 10 there? He plays for so-and-so, you know, on non-league games or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know how people are still trying this to this day. This baffles me.
Listen, it's just one of those things that happens. It's never going to stop. But are the leagues actually going to be consistent in their approach to dealing with it? I believe there's supposed to be a points deduction, a fine, all these kinds of things, but that doesn't always take place, does it? Certainly not for some clubs in some leagues. So, but generally speaking, leagues tend to deal with it the way that it should be done. It's just, unfortunately, it's not done consistently across the board. It happens. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it. We will never manage to get rid of ringers. It's not going to happen. It's always going to happen. And I mean, sometimes a manager will communicate it in advance and go, look, we've got a ringer, is that okay? And the other person will go, yeah, that's fine. Or they might just go, no, you're taking a piss. And in that case, obviously the game has to take place just without your ringer, which means their team's probably going to be a little bit weaker.
Yeah. Now, sometimes this happens by accident. Like, I saw a game the other day where two players weren't noted down. Well, I say by accident, but again, this sounds like by accident. They weren't noted down on the team sheet, and therefore, obviously, if they're not submitted on the team sheet, and it's gone to the referee, and they're on the sidelines waiting to come on, sir, that can't happen. Whereas the blatant ringers, like you see, okay, he plays in an academy, he plays step 3, step 2. Like, those are ringers. Like, come on, guys. Like, what? Don't you think we watch football like here? Those are the blatant ones. So it just baffles me how it still goes on to this day.
Listen, it's not going to stop. Like, it's genuinely not going to stop. In fact, I can only ever really see it getting worse with the competition and the rise of YouTube, and you know, it makes things more intense. People who are desperate to win. Look, we're going to see more crafty moves pulled, like behind closed doors games taking place that didn't take place, that did take place, but we don't know if it took place, but it did take place. Like, we don't know. We're probably going to see more of those kind of slick uses of the rules, which I would prefer than people turning up with players that don't play for you. Ultimately could pose a bit of a risk, injury. They hit someone and do something crazy, cause damage, and nobody knows who they are, and that person can't be held accountable. Listen, ultimately it's about safety. We need to know who the person is. What if they come along and break their leg, they get themselves injured, they're not going to be covered, and who's going to be held accountable for that? So it's important that we understand that, you know, there might be a short-term gain, and that even then it's if you win the football match. But ultimately, the negatives or the cons outweigh the pros to bring in ringers to a football match. So people, if you're watching, where possible, try not to use ringers. It's like I said, it's a very, very bad day. If that person ends up breaking their leg or breaking someone else's leg, which is very likely in this game of football, we've seen some of the weird and wonderful tackles that go flying in. It's not worth the hassle. It really isn't. And I'm pretty sure if a ringer comes along and does something like that, now I might be wrong. I don't think I am, because I've had this conversation with somebody. It's actually a criminal offence is being committed, and I think it's something to do with registration and insurance, and somebody operating outside of insurance causing damage and grievous bodily harm or something like that. But yeah, I've had I've had a very weird conversation with somebody about it. So I know there is some sort of legality that comes with it as well. Not to say that I would ever go down that road, but yeah, it's just not worth it. It's definitely not worth it.
I'm glad you pointed out the severity of like that because not a lot of people see it like that. People just think, "Oh, he's playing just because the team needs an extra player, or he's a fantastic player," but people don't see the severity of
Mm.
it, like injury and all the rest of it. But what are the punishments? That's what I want to know. Sometimes, yeah, it can be docked points if you're lucky. What are the punishments to stop people doing this? Because just play the game fairly. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win, innit?
Personally, I think if it gets to a situation where it is well, look, I guess it really is deciding league titles and it is deciding people's jobs as well, much like a referee. So clubs should be held accountable exactly the same.
Mm,
They should be disqualified from the competition.
mm,
If you field an ineligible player, I don't think it should be just be a matter of you get docked points. If you field a player that you know is ineligible or is a ringer, I think you should be eliminated from the competition
mm.
and denied registration for a year. That's if the leagues are serious about it. I'm just saying, if they're serious about it. But listen, I don't know.